but I also love being involved in this industry. And I have a little bit different perspective than a lot of people. I come from a hospitality background. So I look at things just a little bit differently, and it's not the hardcore dollars and cents, which don't get me wrong, and you got to make money. Like that's part of it. That's most of it, right? So you can continue to offer whatever it is that you're trying to offer to the world.
Welcome to Mastering the Numbers. I'm your host, Joe Mallow. All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Mastering the Numbers. I am Joe Mallow with the Lead Edge Consulting Group. We are powered by Focal Point Business and Executive Coaching. And we are lucky today to have our guest, Craig McKim. He's the founder and owner of All Protectors Network. Thanks for taking part in the interview series.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you. Well, Craig, let's just start off with this. I mean, tell us a little bit about All Protectors Network.
All Protectors Network was, as anything is, it's a thought, an idea maybe of something that I might like to do, and that started in right around 2021, where I started hosting networking mixers specific to the security industry, but also more specific into the executive protection industry. And if people don't know what that is, just think bodyguards, right? But not necessarily your, push people around, mean, knuckle draggers, like tough guys. It's like these are thoughtful professionals, and they do the job quietly. They do the job well. They do it thoroughly. All the things I think, I'd be more comfortable you thinking Secret Service style ish, in how we look and how we present. It's not always like that, and that's fine because everybody's in their iteration of what they're doing. But what I wanted to do is just I wanted to bring everybody together, and give people the opportunity to talk with actual protection professionals, where I didn't necessarily have that growing up. That was or growing up, but that was 25 plus years ago when I
Right.
started to get into the industry. And so what I ended up doing was, I started thinking about that, who I wanted to include, and that was military, that was law enforcement, and people making those transitions, or anybody just interested in the space. Come and learn, get together, and let's just let's have a couple of drinks, let's be some food, have a couple laughs, and then we'll go on our way, and we'll have come out of it better on the other side. So that's where it started. Some time goes by, I get involved in another business, and kind of put that on the back burner, but still always kind of thinking about it. And what it is turning into is this is a company that wants to offer support in the industry, right? The industry's been pretty good to me over the last at least decade, and I wanted to give back. And what we focus on is helping other business owners within the security industry become better at business. So, right now we're still early on, and what we're doing is we're offering webinars through other professionals, not necessarily tied to the protection industry, but an accountant. And here's why it's important that your books are right out of the gate. And if they're not, it's okay, but here's how we're going to help you fix it, or here's what you should do, right? Networking, which is how we've met, Joe. Getting out there and being part of your community, regardless of what your profession is. But if you might have international aspirations, but you got to start somewhere. So getting out there and word of mouth marketing for that. But then and on and on. Other professionals, marketing professionals maybe have an attorney come on and say, hey, listen, we're based here. Wherever you are, here's the type of things that you want to talk about if you're just getting started, or if you are even thinking about doing this. So it's helping security business owners do better business. And so that's kind of where we are restarting. But then also a bolt on to that, as we were talking a little bit before this, is I offer what's called the EP Mixer. I'm a co-founder of that event. I have a buddy's kind of co-founder in name. I do a lot of the legwork, but he's a great advisor. And what we do is about quarterly, we put together a networking mixer called the EP Mixer, which is for executive protection professionals, or again, anybody interested in the space. And so we just bring people together, and we do it across the country. And we did one earlier this year in Vegas. Then we did one in DC or the DC area. And we're doing one
Yeah.
here coming up very shortly in Orlando. And then we're looking at LA in the end of the year. And then we'll do it again next year. And I'm not sure the places just yet,
Yeah.
but it'll be those types of,
Okay.
that'll be the offering along with these other business type services. And we're also planning on becoming an operational company as well, where we can actually offer security as a service. So those are
Okay.
some of the things
Okay,
we're,
great.
there's some other things that aren't consumable yet, but we're working
Right. Well, see that's great. I mean, small business owners, I truly believe at some point in that path need some guidance, whether it's at the beginning, middle, or at the end when they're trying to sell the business. They're going to need that kind of support. So I know you mentioned a little bit about it, but if you could maybe elaborate a little bit more, what prompted you to start your own business instead of just working inside the corporate protection world?
sometimes I feel like a really bad employee. Um, I'm good. I'm good at the job. I'm capable. I'm competent. I'm all the things. Um, and well, so put a pin in that. One of the things is that I'm recently within the last year and a half, I got married, and so I don't want to do the traveling like I had been before that.
Yeah.
And so, one of it is, it's called a devotion to my family, but it's just like and maybe that's what it is. I want to be around them, right? And so, but I also love being involved in this industry, and I have a little bit different perspective than a lot of people. I come from a hospitality background,
Yeah.
so I look at things just a little bit differently, and it's not the hardcore dollars and cents. Which don't get me wrong, and you got to make money, like that's part of it. That's most of it, right? So you can continue to offer whatever it is that you're trying to offer to the world, or at least to your industry. And that was what it was. It was comes out of benevolence, um, because I wasn't looking at the $1 billion like North Star. Like I want to be a billionaire. It's like I want to make enough money where I'm comfortable, the kids, the family, everybody's good, my extended family's good,
Yeah.
and but just continue to contribute to an industry that really over the like I said the last decade and even before that has been pretty good to me. So it's
Yeah.
more about giving back to my industry specifically, but um, but it's also fun, right? Like you're starting something new, it's
Yeah.
fun. There's the hard parts, right? The things you don't like
Yeah.
doing, but that a lot of times pales in comparison to the upside of, well, there's money in it. There's things that I love to do in it. There's the people that I love to be around, in it
Yeah.
within the industry, and then right here at home. Those are, I guess, kind of an amalgamation of the reasons of that I wanted to start my own business.
Yeah. The reason why I started my own business was similar to one of your reasons was it was about family. It was about being around family more and not being on the road 5, 6, 7 days a week. So I can agree with that one. So what are some of the biggest struggles you've had to overcome as you're building All Protectors Network?
Well, one of them is, this wasn't, a long, drawn out, thought out plan as far as like I'm gonna start putting money back. So it was kind of a necessity, or I felt like it was a necessity to go and do this. So finances are, can be tough, but what that also pulls you out of bed in the morning to like, okay, I got to go get it. There's a speaker that I listened to. His name's Eric Thomas, and he talks about that. And here's where I heard it. Who knows? Maybe somebody else said it as well. But it's like, a lion and a gazelle both get up each morning, knowing the gazelle knows that he's going to have to run from a lion at some point to survive, and a lion knows that he's going to have to get up and catch a gazelle to to survive, or something to survive. And so they both get up, with survival in mind. And it's kind of what, just this morning, my alarm went off and I was like, but here we go.
Yeah.
So finances, right? That's one of the things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's time, right? I mean, it takes a lot of time to do this. And that's, I think, a misconception is like, I'm just going to work 40 hours a week. And don't get me wrong, there's been times when I've fallen off and I'm like, I'm mentally exhausted. So I need to take a rest today. And that's not always acceptable. And I try not to do it a lot. But there's
Yeah.
sometimes, but then when I do, I come out the next day and I'm, and I feel like my effort has gone a lot further than I had before. But also too, maybe you can take a day, or can you take just an hour? And sometimes that's it too. Like,
Right.
let me tune out for a second.
Right.
So those are a couple of the things that come to mind
Yeah.
almost immediately.
Yeah. So in growing the business over the last few years, is there anything you would have done differently along the way? Not different career choice, but just in growing the business.
Yes. I think
I
it's one of those
think
like,
everybody says that, right?
yeah, I think a little bit of a better, would have been probably spend some time putting some more money back, for it. Would have probably started it a little bit earlier. Quite honestly, you have to have the conversation for it. It's like, people say, well, I'll do it when the timing is right. And it's like, you're that will never happen. That it just
Yeah.
in my experience, it just doesn't. It's like, hey, I'm gonna try this and kind of see where it goes, which isn't necessarily the best thing, but also too, what's your market research tell you, and that
Yeah.
that would probably be something I do a little bit better job of understanding the need, the desire for people to learn from one another. My industry specifically within security is so heavy in hard skills. I got to get to,
Right.
executive protection, got to get to the range, got to get to the gym, got to do the martial arts. Like, those are all part of it without a doubt. But it's all the other thing is it's the soft skills, it's the business
Yeah.
skills. Like, do I have what it takes? And a lot of it's just sometimes it's just grit. Like, just don't quit on it. And I heard that, I think it was Conor McGregor, and whether you like it or not, the guy's world champ, and he got something done. And he's like, this is an obsession, and so you just push through. Like I said earlier, the bad stuff has to it's not always going to outweigh the good, but it's like, where am I going, and keeping your
Yeah.
eyes moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I see a couple things along the way working with business owners is number one is it's that initial push to start a business. There's never a right time. For me, it was almost a forced time, right? And you have to make it right.
Sure.
But the second is a lot of business owners they quit too early, right? They're just on the precipice of something really good and sustainable, but they quit, and it's fear on both sides of that: fear of starting, fear of sticking it out.
Always
So,
fear is so, and we might not call it that, right? Oh, it's
right,
rational. It's the realistic thing I should do. And it's like, well, you have to be a little unrealistic in doing this, right?
yeah,
And who says I can start a business? And if you drive down your main street through your main town, there's that everybody did that has a sign out there.
yeah,
If not, if them, why not you? And that's,
yeah,
I really had to look at it like that when I first really started testing the waters, and that's a bad thing to do too. It's like, do your market research. Can you fit in? Can you make a difference? Now you gotta run kind of head first into it. And I've made that mistake to not do that, and I
yeah,
got those results. So, I failed.
yeah,
I failed more times than I succeeded
yeah.
in anything
I-
that I've done. But it's sometimes it's those successes that
yeah,
those are the ones that continue to pull you, right?
yeah. I think all good business owners fail along the way. Fail,
Yeah,
make mistakes, and you learn from it. You adapt, and the strong continue to push forward. So, um, so you mentioned a misconception of business owners earlier, just the fact that business owners it's all about time. They only work 40 hours a week, which you and I both know that's not even close to true. So, what are there any other misconceptions that you hear about when it comes to being a business owner?
uh, one of the things, it's the misunderstanding of how marketing works.
Yeah,
I have a Facebook page. I have a website. Like, if I hang the sign and put up the website and I'm in business, which technically is not true, because you're not. I don't think you're in business until you have some money coming in. There's people who are like, you have a hobby until you're making
yeah,
money, and I'm like, and so
right.
I'm like, that one kind of stabs you, at first. But the more that you listen, and listening to podcasts and other people that podcasts like this, listening to other entrepreneurs that are out there that are doing it,
Yeah,
that have done it, they're going to give you the real on it. Like, there are times it is going to suck, and then there's those times that are you're like, oh man, I did that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, Followed by a string of, oh man, I lost that one. I can't get a hold of this person. What am I doing wrong? Um,
Right.
there's it's the ups and downs. It's the highs and lows. It's the anxiety of, man, I got bills coming. I got kids. I got, it's there's and now so I say all that, right? But then there are people that are like, I provide a service, right? And I own, and maybe they're established enough that they can work normal business hours, and good on them.
Right.
And but maybe they don't want to grow it, or yeah, I don't know. And so there's I know that there's people that
Yeah.
out there that they own a business. I have a friend who's an attorney. She owns her own practice. She's like, I do as much work as I want to do, and I'm good. Good on you.
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that. If you're happy with where you are and what you're doing, great. Then just keep doing that.
Yeah.
But if you're not, it's going to take more than you're probably doing,
For
or
sure.
willing to do to get to where you want to go. So then you have to make that decision, and it's a decision. It's not going to fall in your lap.
Yeah. For sure. So, uh, I mean, you mentioned earlier. I mean, you're busy running around. You got going to Orlando. I think you mentioned going out to LA for these big events. You just got married recently. How are you balancing your professional and your personal life right now, or is that even possible?
Um, I heard somebody say one time it's more of integration.
Yeah.
Um, where you marry the two. Sometimes that doesn't always work. I have a very understanding wife, who's entrepreneurial minded. She owns a business as well, and she's at very early stages, but she's done so much market research. We feel good about it, and her certainly. So part of that is having somebody that is really understanding of that, that wants you to go out and do that within your life. The kids, they got their games, right, and so you try to carve out a few hours a week, specifically for them. And some people may say, well, it needs to be more than that. Some will say, hey, if they get an hour of your undivided attention, that's good. I think it all is in your individual family.
Yeah.
Um, but just communication. Um, and I love the mixtures that I do. I love doing it. I love it. So while it feels like work, it and it is work, I am committed to doing it, and I love doing it, and so that makes it that
Yeah.
much easier to
Yeah.
get a text message just just last night around, I don't know what time it was, 9:30, 10 o'clock something. I was in bed, and my phone dings, and it's like, hey Craig, can you resend me that invoice? Like, hey, if you're gonna give me money, like,
Yeah.
I go through the app on my phone, found it and sent it out. Took me a minute, 2 minutes to do, but it got done, and I woke up to a notice that
Yeah.
that invoice had been paid. And so that's one of the, and making it easier on yourself. So you talk about
Yeah.
life. What are the technologies that are available to you? I didn't have to leave my bed to resend an invoice.
Right.
Are you doing that? Super cheap, super reasonable, and that's just one of the things. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so you're running a business, at least one, from what I can tell. Your wife's starting a business as well. How do you stay motivated and focused with be laser focused with everything that's going on?
It's funny, just recently what I've started doing, and I got this from a friend of mine who's actually a sponsor for one of my events. We were talking. He's a great dude. He has a great business out in Portland, and he uses a specific clock for this thing, and I don't get that part of it. Outside of that, it's not a phone, so you're not tempted to do other things. But
Yeah.
he sets a timer, in short increments, um, of 20 minutes of laser. I'm answering emails for the next 20 minutes. Um, Take a break, which sounds crazy to some people, but it doesn't. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
sit down, have a coffee, all that, but get up, move around, do some jumping jacks, unscrew your eyes from the computer screen, and then move on to the next thing. I also use I just have a planner here, right? It doesn't have much on there
Yeah.
now, but that's I'm building that for tomorrow. But it's just
Right.
here it's half hour blocks within this. Um, yeah, and I got to pay a bill here, pay all medicine, right? But then any notes that I got to take and things that I know that I have to get done down here.
Yeah.
Um, it's just so I know what my day brings each day. I'll do that the night
Right.
before. I don't all I get it done 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I miss it. But other days I'm on it and I literally I sleep better. It's easier for me to get out of bed because I don't I have to wonder what am I going to do today? It's already there.
Yeah.
And then I just start working my way through it. And I get pulled away just like anybody, but that
Right.
helps significantly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, being organized is helpful for everybody, and holding yourself accountable is, or having somebody else hold you accountable is incredibly important as well. So, um,
Joe, let me say something on that real quick.
yeah.
What started this trajectory for me to even want to own my own business is I worked with a coach. I worked with somebody who helped clear out all the stuff in your head that's telling that you can't do it. Why would you be able to do it? You're not that smart. You're not, you're not. All these lies that you tell yourself that you don't realize that are lies. I
Right.
worked with somebody to help clear that out. I stay in touch with them, not as much as I should, but also too like enough where I know that I'm going to have a conversation about some
Right.
things that I've done or not done.
Right.
And and I know not everybody can do that, but even just an accountability partner, somebody in your office or somebody else who knows your goals and dreams, to call you on it.
Yeah.
For me, I guess to kind of get your motivation of why it's like I got a wife and kids now, and I'm in my mid 40s. I didn't know that was going to be a thing for me 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And now here we are, and it's like, oh, there's other people that depend on you to do the things that you're supposed to be doing. And so that's a big one for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of times that's the ultimate motivator
Yeah,
is I have people that are counting on me to take care of them. So,
yeah.
especially kids. So how do you stay ahead of the competition in your industry?
A lot of what I do, I mentioned it kind of earlier, is I have different perspectives on this industry and what is needed within it. And one of the things, like anytime I have one of the mixers, people are like, "Hey, when are you coming to my town?" I'm like, "Where's your town?" And they'll give me some town in the middle of Nebraska. And no offense to anybody from Nebraska, I've traveled through it. It's a great state, but it's not a haven for executive protection. It just isn't. And so, the first event I ever did is in Columbus. Again, not a haven, but I had 20 people show up. But I had people travel from Michigan,
Yeah.
Indiana, like all around, right? All the states
Right.
touching Ohio. But then I also had a guy come in from LA for it because he caught wind of it. And he came up or he flew out for it, and so there we go. But it's just and so the reason that there's more of those is is because there's a demand. There seems to be a demand for it, and so I love doing it. It just turns out that I love doing it, but giving the people what they want is sometimes better, and sometimes that might match being innovative or being ahead of the industry because it's like, well, no, I want to do executive protection, but I'm getting tons of people calling me about doing security guard work, but I don't want to do that. It's like, well, do you want to go hungry or do you want to do this? And so, I have an iteration that I'm gonna like, next time we talk, Joe probably will have that a little bit more well established. But we're going to talk, there's going to be more that I want to do through all protectors, but with like what my wife has been calling a bolt-on service that I offer as kind of part of the mixer, part of all protectors network, and where it's kind of a
Yeah.
hybrid of education, but also networking. And I think those two often go
Yeah.
hand in hand, at least in
Yeah.
the mix from the mixer's perspective, they do.
Yeah. Sure. What do you find most challenging about the protection industry?
Um,
For someone who might be wanting to get in there.
it's from a business standpoint, a lot of the times it's a race to the bottom. Um, as far as talk about money, like it's I can it's companies devaluing the service because a giant company maybe got the contract and then they sub it out, which gets subbed again. So the money that's being paid is, even though they're getting really solid people, that company that's supplying them isn't getting the lion's share of the money. And so it's very, there's thin margins. And so the best client is maybe not some international national client, but somebody that you are first in line for. It is your client that now you have, and you set it, and you don't have to make as much as you would have working for a sub, or as little as you would have been making for a sub, but you can, you can actually make that whole margin. And so but you have to go out there and you have to drum up your own business, or you have to have the money to pay search engine, do it for SEO or keyword search, or any of the stuff that's online. You typically have to pay for that unless your content is so amazing that people are just finding it, which you might have to work with somebody to do that. So maybe you're not paying for the clicks, but you're paying for the person to help you do that. And so just getting out there and understanding that not everybody needs security. You know, my house, I have, security systems in place, but I don't need protection. That's fine. If we're talking about executive protection, you're talking about a 1% of people that need that. But what else can you do? I work for some event, I have some contracts with event centers. It's not a ton of work, but I'll tell you, it's really helpful. And in the lean times. But then also, you sub, and it's like you have to be out there. The hard part is if it's you and you're the business, or at least the face of the business, you're the one that has to be out there, and you can only be so many places at one time. And so that's maximizing your social media, maximizing your website, maximizing LinkedIn, and all the places that you can go to get your name out. And I don't do it. I do better than most, but I don't do as well as I should with doing that. So that's a challenge.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. So where do you see your business in the next 12 to 36 months?
I see growth, based on one on the mixer. This is let's call it 8 years in the making. I started and I'll tell you the story, and I'll get to that question. But I started promoting for an event that's held yearly for the protection industry. It's called the Close Protection Conference, hosted by the International Protective Security Board. And when I started with them, I was just a promoter, and I just got online. And I just learned about Gary Vaynerchuk and all the Tom Bilyeu and Ed Milet and all these people that you see online. And they're like, just start doing it. Just start, making videos and making content and all that. So I did that, but I started to direct my energy about 3 months before the Close Protection Conference, which is held December every year, just talking about hyping it up and doing that, being part of that, being part of that industry, right? And helping steer it, or that, those being part of a committee or whatever, and just being part of that time and time again. Well, the more that you're involved in that, the more attention, the more attention I got, to allow me to have, for me, the confidence to even say, yeah, I can do this. Worked with a coach again to help clear out the cobwebs, to even want to have growth and put myself out there and understand how business really does work. And so it's been 8 years to get of scratching and clawing to a point to get there. But to say to be at a revenue point, I think I'm part of that. I'm still hashing out because I don't know where it is, but I know that I know there's gonna be more contracts. I know there's gonna be more more events, whether they're just straight networking events or not. I put I put the number in front of myself of this year of 182,000, and I'm charging towards that, but that's also making that goal. So what will it be for next year? 300,000. And how do I plan to do that? It's like, well, make your goal and then reverse engineer it to see, oh, how do I do that? And then go there. So I know that answer was about as clear as mud, but I'm open to what might happen, and those keep the conversations rolling because I want to give people what they want, and but also do what I want to do, but also be
Yeah.
valuable to the industry as a whole. And
Yeah.
that's my biggest thing is like I want to be valuable to the industry overall, not just
Right.
to Craig or not just to the people that are paying directly. I want to influence 5,000 protectors by
Yeah.
2028. Like that's a number. So
Yeah.
and I want to.
Great.
I mean, I guess my biggest thing too, and this is not on as a thing of like where do I see it, but I'm working on uniting the industry as well. You
Yeah.
have a lot of type A's or alphas that it's like, my way or the highway. And that exhausts me. And sure, you need people like that, and maybe, but I want to,
Yeah.
I want to bring the industry together more than I want to do anything.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where things end up for in the next 1 to 3 years. So I'm sure we'll be staying in touch. So
Sure,
last couple bits of information, real quick before we end the show.
sure.
Um, what's the best business advice anybody's ever given you?
Best business advice I received. Oh man, there's a lot of it, right? And you hold on to the things that click for you for some reason. And it was, you've heard me mention the name Gary Vaynerchuk a few times, and you can look him up, and anybody listen should. Um, but he used it within marketing. But best business advice I've been given kind of through him online was care.
Yeah.
Care about what you're doing, care about what your client, what you're doing for your clients. Offer insane value if you can. Marie Forleo talks about that. Like, never drop your price, offer more. What else can you give them if they want a deal is you get more stuff, not less. Where you don't spend less money, but you want to care about your clients. You want to care about what you're doing, and care about the value that you're presenting to your industry or to the world. However you want to look at that. But the that's probably the best that I've ever got.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good advice. And if you care about your clients, then everything works from there. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So, listen, Greg, I really, really appreciate you being on. I learned a ton about the All Protectors Network that I didn't know in our previous conversations. So, if anybody out there wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Best way is an email, and that's it. My Mixer email address is just craig@epmixer.com. That's the easiest way. I'm happy to put my cell phone if you want to text me. And
Yeah.
texting is always the best way. Calling me,
Yeah.
I just I if I there's so much junk messages that come through. But you can reach out to my cell at 702-767-8203. And then the website is allprotectors.com. And those are the best ways to get it. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. LinkedIn is where I spend a lot of time as well. You look for
All right,
Craig
great.
McKim. You see me there. I'm in the middle of explaining something to someone. Or no, actually, I think I'm standing there like this. So that's me.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that all the ways to contact you are attached to the podcast when it gets released. So once again, thank you very much for taking part today, and everybody out there listening. I appreciate you as well. We'll catch you on the next episode of Mastering the Numbers. Take care, Craig.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You too.
You've just tuned into another episode of Mastering the Numbers. We hope you found valuable insight to boost your financial success. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Keep pushing forward, and thanks for listening.